has good technique, he will be elite. If his technique becomes great, not just good, then he's a Hall of Famer. Fighting through contact, fighting through offensive line, being a double team, multiple moves stacked into one, just a play of pure domination. This is actual film, this is actual football talk. It's a football show, we're supposed to talk football, not storylines. And we're back. We're back with a man who hasn't been on the show in a couple of months, but we are very glad to have him. 11-year NFL defensive back, a Jet for 5 or 6 years. I always screwed up. I'm a little too young. But my all-time favorite Jet, because I consider him a friend, as you can see, his high school right back there is killing it over there in Texas.
College.
Marcus. College.
Yeah.
We're concerned about other things with Marcus Coleman right now.
What's up, man? What's going on?
You move around a lot. You go from the Arena League, from this team to that team to now you're going to college. You're scouting players. Marcus is a busy man. I can't keep up. Like I said, I was doing some housework today. I think I'm running like 3 hours of sleep, so I might be like my IQ might be like dropped like 20 points right now. But
all good.
Marcus, we got a lot to talk about. We're going to do some like lightning round discussing of the Jets and their season and their off season. I just want to get your general thoughts. And then we bring you on for your professional opinion on some of these secondary players, defensive backs, safeties, wide receivers. So we're going to break down 25, 26 plays of the new Jet number 1 wide receiver in Corey Davis and see what we think about him as a collective. I think you'll like him. We'll talk about his fit in the offense and some things like that. But to get into some of the Jets talk of this season, which I know what your response is going to be pretty much because you don't really hold stuff back. But what are your thoughts on the Jets 2-14 season? Listen, like it was so brutal too this season because it's like, yeah, they're so bad, but at least we're gonna get the number 1 pick. But then there was like literally sleepless nights for months straight of like, well, what if the Jags don't beat this team, the Jets lose or win this game, and then the Jets screw themselves and get the number 2 pick. But overall, your thoughts on the season? Obviously, you're gonna say it was just dreadful, right?
Well, yeah, it was a bad season. You can't. I mean, there's no way skirting around that. But with the draft, I'll just go back to this. So while you were worried about, and everybody else was worried about the number 1 pick, you have to remember, particularly with a lot of the moves that have been made, there was still some opportunity that things can happen on draft day, and we've seen that all the time. Urban Meyer may decide to make a move. You just never know. Obviously they need the quarterback, so it'd be not the smartest thing to do if they did that. But we've seen different things happen. But getting back to the season, that was about as bad as it can be. Unless you want to count the 1-16 Lions, we weren't far behind. My rookie year, 1-15. It was right. It's in that ballpark. It was about the same. It didn't seem like obviously they weren't on the same page game in and game out. Every week. 1 week the offense would show up, then the defense wouldn't show up, and then vice versa.
Or neither.
You could definitely tell. Yeah, or neither. Yeah, you could definitely tell there was lack of continuity. Obviously, one of the things that no one speaks about, you may have, but I don't really see a lot of people talking about is because of the rift or the division or how they structure the organization. I'll be PC about it. With Gase and and Greg Williams, of how he's the head coach of the defense and the head coach of the offense. Obviously, there was no complementary football being played, and you could see it. All you had to do was watch the game. If you understand what that means. So it was hard to watch. It was, and obviously it was hard to watch. There are some players that were there that probably didn't need to be there, and not necessarily. I shouldn't say that. They probably didn't need to be starting. They probably needed to be backups or special teams guys or something like that. I don't want to say that nobody needs to be there because they still work their ass off.
Mm-hmm.
So, but there should have been a better product on the field, and it just didn't happen. So that's how I saw it.
I think that goes without saying that at 2-14 roster, there's some players on the Jets who should probably be 4th, 5th stringers and not starters. And we could mention a few. I'm not going to go into that. You guys kind of know my feelings. I think Marcus generally agrees with me for the most part. But now, in terms of the reporting structure and kind of after the season, obviously it's a terrible season. The Jets hold the number 2 pick. There's a lot of discussion, blah, blah, blah. We'll get into that a little bit. But your thoughts on the coaching hire, and specifically with the coaching hire, him basically coming out and saying, I am running the entire team. I'm not going to focus on defense. That's going to be Ulbrich, who was brought over from the Falcons, who he has a connection with from Seattle. And then obviously he brings in LaFleur. I always forget like Matt and Mike, where the hell their names in, but the younger brother of the LaFleur with the Packers. So there's going to be that mixture of the Packers scheme with the 49ers scheme. We'll see based on personnel. I tend to think that the Jets are going to be a heavier 11 personnel team. So I think they're going to run a little bit more inside zone than outside zone. Outside zone, you do want those tight ends to be able to assist the block, and the Jets don't really have that Kittle type player. So I think they'll be a little bit lighter personnel, but regardless, I think the offensive system from the Shanahan tree is going to be better than Gase. I don't know if I'm reaching on that one. But what are your thoughts on Saleh and the staff, and now that the reporting structure is finally changed with both now, not even just the head coach overseeing the entire team, which hasn't happened in years, at least to my knowledge, at least since the last 10 years. And now apparently it's where the head coach reports to the GM, who reports to the owner. It's not equal terms to the head coach, to the owner. So they really kind of changed the entire structure of the organization. So.
Right. No, I actually, I like the hire. To be honest with you, actually I had an opportunity to talk to Coach Saleh, not long after he got hired. And
hold on, he and I
actually, but we go back to, because when I was playing in Houston, he was an assistant in Houston. So we actually go back.
You know what, Marcus? You know what? I said I consider you a friend before this. You're skating on thin ice, buddy. I don't know now. I don't know if you told me you had a conversation with Saleh, but continue.
Oh yeah, it probably, because it wasn't long. It was, just more of a congratulatory thing. It was that kind of deal. Just from my past, as a player, and knowing, kind of his rise through the ranks. Definitely high IQ guy. Obviously, you can see the energy on the field, while he's coaching. He's aggressive, but he's very intelligent, with how, he's, with how he puts things together. You can look at that defensively, just the way that he runs his games, the matchups that he would create, things like that. And I think that's going to carry over into the organization. I think it's good that he is just going to be the head coach. He's going to be more or less the CEO. He'll have his hands on everything, to see how it is. Obviously, I'm sure he'll favor defense a little bit more, even though he has a vet that, a veteran staff defensively that understands what he wants, and, and what he, and you'll see a similar system, as you saw in San Fran. Obviously, look, and let's just be honest. The Shanahan tree of, whoever's tree that is, it's really the Mike Holmgren tree, if we want to be honest. Actually, it's really the Bill Walsh tree. If we want to call it what it is, that tree's been very successful throughout time in the NFL. If you go from Holmgren to Reed, to go to Kubiak, go to Shanahan, obviously, you see quick passes, a lot of throws. Obviously, inside, outside zone is the biggest thing, depending on what type of back you have. But for example, and this does go back to, kind of personnel. If you have a Terrell Davis type guy or somebody like that, every now and then you can throw some counters, throw some power in there, just as a changeup. So, and I think you'll see a little bit of all of that, with depending on what personnel that they get. So I think it'll be exciting. You've had several quarterbacks, whether they be rookies or vets, step into that system, throw for a ton of yards, a lot of touchdowns. The reads are simple. You're really only reading about two things, depending on what the defense is giving you, you got one or two reads and you just kind of work from there. But usually the ball is coming out quick. But one of the things that all of those, offensive coordinators and all of those coaches have had is, it's not even necessarily the running back. The offensive line has been pretty decent, but they've always had, solid QB, solid tight end, which is kind of the biggest thing. Obviously we can go a little further back before the offense evolved into the way that it was, the fullback was being used a little bit more. I don't know if you're going to see a whole lot of that. I still think it'll be, more one back, 11 personnel, kind of deal, like you said. But the ball's going to come out. But they need somebody on the outside. And they don't have to be elite ones. They can be kind of 1C, 2A kind of guys on the outside, which, I think Corey is more of a 1B, 1A kind of, receiver, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But they need guys on the outside. But the tight end is going to be a huge part of the offense. So I'm excited to see, after they finish, drafting Zach from BYU, how these things are, all going to play out. And I already said it.
Yeah,
everybody else. Yeah.
And the Shanahan scheme, like the whole thing with that too is like it's dominating the NFL right now. And like again, it depends on the personnel you have. Like I think like a more of like 11 personnel is going to be more inducive to inside zone, where more 12, 21, you can run a little bit more outside. But we'll see. There's still the draft to go. But I would argue right now that the Jets have 4 decent receivers. And I say the same thing about Davis when I did some like podcasts about it, like whatever film breakdowns is. Like I think he's like a lower tier 1 or like a high end 2 from like based on my opinion of watching his film. And we'll get into his film in a little bit. Like I think he's really good at a lot of things, but a master of none. Like he's not elite in one category, but he does everything really well to me. But we'll get into that. But in terms of and you talk about some of the receivers too, which is why I think it's conducive to them running a lot of 11 personnel, is the fact that they're bringing in Corey Davis can block. We did a Mims review, you and I. Mims can definitely block. Keelan Cole is a little guy. He's like 6'1", I think like 195, 200. But he's a good blocker in terms of technically and the want to, which some receivers don't have that want to. So I have a lot of guys who can block. They brought in Croft, who's a blocking tight end. So there's going to be a lot of running game, like you said too. Like it's good for a young quarterback because a lot of these reads are like these boots, these naked boots play actions where a lot of it's cutting off half through the field. But you do want a decision maker who is quick, because a lot of it's you want to get that yak, you want to get the ball out quickly. So which we'll discuss, but. To the next step of free agency, so the Jets offseason went from the season to now the coaching decision to now free agency. Is there any guys you really like that they signed? Like just in general, what are your thoughts on some of their pickups? I know you're busy as hell right now, but if you've seen some.
I mean, I haven't seen them all. The few names that I have seen, I mean, I'm not gonna say, I can't say it's anything spectacular. I think right now they're guys. They're good players, but they're not anything to be overly excited about, free agency wise. I guess I'm not necessarily going to say surprised by, there weren't, and it didn't have to be a lot, but I was still waiting for kind of like the splash signing, whether it be, whether it was up front on the offensive line, whether it was a corner, somewhere in one of those, positions where, particularly a corner, where, they desperately need corners back there. They need help in the secondary. Yeah. I was really surprised there wasn't, and it didn't have to be for a lot of money. It could have been, even if you brought in a vet, like a Trufant, or somebody like that. I know they were talking to the player from Tennessee at one point. No, I can't remember.
Dory Jackson?
No, heck no. No, I would ex-Nate that.
Butler?
I think they were talking to Butler for a little bit. And it was like it was like a cup of coffee. Like you would have missed it if you didn't pay attention to it. Yeah. So, but I was still just kind of looking for a splash signing, particularly up front. Obviously as you want to build through the draft, and I get all of that. However, you do need some vets in there, it'd be a high profile bit, especially at certain positions, whether it be corner. You have, Mosley, obviously, a linebacker or whatever, but, I was just looking for the free, the big splash signing, and it really didn't happen. So, that was really, from what I saw, the only thing that I didn't see. I think they acquired some good talent. Now, maybe Corey is the splash signing. They consider that the splash signing, at wideout. So, but maybe for them that was the splash move. But I was looking for something else, maybe in a different spot that could have helped the team out.
Yeah, the thing that fans were upset about, which I give the Jets a pass on, to be completely honest, was the whole thing that the Jets really felt like, or Jets fans really felt like they're getting Joe Thuney, and Listen, when you sign a 5-year, it was like a 5-year deal, $16 million a year with the Chiefs. Like, have fun offering that to a guard, who I think is worth $16 million a year. But if the Chiefs offer him $16 million, what would the like Marcus? If it's you, you're a guard, are you going to the Jets for $16 million a year or the Kansas City Chiefs? Like, even if it's offered, it's like 18, 19. Like, you're probably going to the Chiefs if you want to win that Super Bowl. But yeah, a lot of fans wanted William Jackson from the Bengals. They didn't land him, but I think it was really Lawson and Corey Davis. Lawson, the rusher from the Bengals, who's like one of the league leaders in pressures and QB hits and things like that. So like that was kind of their splashes, but. Other than that, like I've talked about it generally, I like some of the signings. Sheldon Rankins, who's been had some injuries. Vinny Curry, who's a consistent pressure guy from the edge, a veteran. But yeah, they didn't really make that one huge splash. Even though I could argue that Lawson's a little bit of that because they just haven't had an edge rusher in a while, and him being one of the most productive ones in the league. But yeah,
that's fair. Yeah, that's
offensive line. They didn't make those splashes, but now getting to kind of the last thing before we get into Davis, just quickly is just the Sam Darnold trade. I think it was Darnold's first year where we did like every single episode together during that season. So you watched a lot of his rookie year. Obviously, he regressed a lot based on a lot of things, a lot of him, a lot of Gase, a lot of the roster around him, which I would argue his 2020 roster is the best roster he's had. And he still regressed a lot and missed open receivers, which I don't think Gase is telling him to skip on open receivers. So it was a part of his problem. So the thoughts on his trade and if it was the right move, and then which I legitimately do not know your opinion about this. We haven't talked about it, but your thoughts on the number 2 pick and who it should be and kind of where things, well, I'll get into where things are pointing if you haven't been up on the NFL news, but it's pointing heavily to one quarterback from BYU.
From BYU, yeah. The Darnold trade is a little tricky. Now, while I thought, and I think Mel Kiper said something to the same effect not long ago, you keep Darnold, you move up, you take like a Pitts or a Waddle or somebody like that to kind of add to the offense, give him more weapons, things like that. Obviously, you have a new system coming in, offensively. And I think, particularly if you add like the 2 that I just named, I think everything instantly goes up, in regards to production, in regards to, helping Darnold out. However, at the same time, I can appreciate and understand a fresh start for everybody. So, Robert, Coach Salah coming in, brand new team, brand new everything. Like, look, let me draft the quarterback. This, whatever it is, we'll start over, new system and everything. And then you give Sam Darnold a new start as well. He gets the first start in Carolina. The way that it's looking, we were actually talking about this at the office that, Teddy's probably going to be out of there and it's going to be Sam Darnold's team. Mm-hmm. That's just kind of the way that it's going. Now, who picks up Bridgewater, whether it be trade during the draft or beforehand, obviously we don't know that, but that's what it's looking like. So everybody gets a fresh start. You get to learn on a new system, for both. To just get a new quarterback, they can start over and, you just kind of, you can build from there. So I actually, now, just kind of, taking it all in. I can understand that, and I don't have an issue with that, because you're right. Obviously, Darnold did regress. There's a number of reasons, whether it be him, as a player himself, or Gase or the offense not having any weapons, whatever it is you want to call it. And unfortunately, that's part of the game that happens. That's happened, since this game's been going on to, guys that are either considered good quarterbacks or eventually became good quarterbacks elsewhere. That's just part of it. So, but I like the fresh start. It's brand new. I think everything will be, regardless of how, things are being run, it'll be different. You guys listening to interviews by the coach will be a lot different. I think you'll see the passion that Coach Salah has. You'll see, you're going to get intelligent answers that are a little bit more articulate about what they're doing, things like that. So it'll be different, so I think everybody just kind of needs a fresh start all the way around. And him not having the distraction of being asked about Darnold and his previous 4 years of whatever it was.
Exactly.
And having to talk about that the whole time. Now you talk about new quarterback, exciting quarterback. Obviously he's athletic, if it's, the young man from BYU, really all of them, to tell you the truth. Mm-hmm. So, it's something new to talk about. It brings more excitement and, for the fans to be, to look forward to.
Yeah, and like really quickly, like with that, like a lot of people argued, okay, well, is he going to take that Tannehill jump? And let's say Tannehill jumped 10 spots from, I would say when he was at the Dolphins, he was like that 18 to 22 range. Like he was below average, but still like okay. Where Darnold, like the last couple of years, based on stats, based on watching like his film, like he was one of the bottom quarterbacks in the NFL. So even if he jumps up a big jump and he goes from 30 to 15, is that good enough to win in the NFL? And I think Tannehill, to be honest, I don't know if you agree with me. I feel like he's a little bit overrated by people. And that's the quarterback you really want. And that's even if he could be Tannehill, which is a massive jump. Like that Tannehill from 20 to 10 is a lot different from Darnold going from 32 to 10. Like that's a massive jump. And then the thing with it too is like a lot of people said, okay, we'll just skip on a quarterback this year, trade down, build around Darnold. Okay, fine. Great idea for now. But then what happens next year when the Jets finish, I hate the new freaking thing, but 6-11, and now they're at pick 12. Right. Now, who's at quarterback? You don't know who's at quarterback next year, and who's to say that the teams who are at 1 and 2 or 3 want to trade with you? So now, what if that? And what if it's a draft where it's Daniel Jones and Dwayne Haskins again? So like you're just going to push quarterback down the road. So you're in a spot to grab a quarterback, start new coach, GM, all that stuff on the same page. You're resetting that rookie contract. There's a lot of factors, but that's like pretty general. But again, now quickly before we get into the film review, in terms of the signal caller for the Jets, rookie quarterback, obviously coming in, the main debate obviously is Zach Wilson. Right now is obviously he's like a minus 1,000 on DraftKings to be drafted by the Jets. Like it's going to happen. You have Steve Young who came out and said he's already they're recruiting the family. It's going to be Zach Wilson. You have the Eagles who said they were going to trade up to 3, but they said that it would only be for Zach Wilson. Instead, they traded down. And Douglas has some Eagles connections to my belief. Obviously, he was there. And then you have the Niners who traded up to 3 and said, "Oh, we didn't talk to the Jets at 2." All right. I don't believe that because if you're trading up to 3, you try to trade up to 2. So they
try to get up to 2.
They try to get up to 2, and the Jets said no. And I'm sure they know that they're going to take Zach Wilson, all this stuff. So it seems like it's pointing to Zach Wilson. But in your mind, is that the right choice? I don't know your feelings on Wilson versus Fields. Who, by the way, it's a really polarizing topic where people are. It's almost like politics. I compared it to this yesterday in the live stream. It's either you're Fields or you're Wilson, and there's no in between. I'm Wilson over Fields, but I also like Fields at the same time.
Yeah, I like both. Both dynamic. Obviously, both have their arm strength. Both played at a high level. Both have the ability to throw in tight windows. Now, the thing that I always throw out that a lot of other people don't throw out probably is. Because, and the reason why I say this is because everybody always, and particularly after Orlovsky, goal line guy, whatever his name is, came out and said what he said, from his sources, about Fields. And all of a sudden now, Fields isn't, he doesn't work hard. And even though I think he just scored high on the Wonder League test or the highest ever, whatever it was, it just came up, some tests. But they both are, while they both have the arm talent, if you go and watch Zach Wilson's game, their games are almost identical in regards to the runs, the boots, when they take off, contested throws, which you want to throw those every now and then. But even if I don't know if you saw this was about 2 weeks ago. If you go back and look at, when ESPN did the highlight film for every quarterback, and it was like, it went on for like 2 or 3 days. So they showed like Trevor Lawrence's best throws and all that. And, so you go to Zach Wilson's, his wideouts are making some like unbelievable like plays on the ball. On in areas where you probably shouldn't throw the ball. To be honest with you. And Fields has the same thing. I mean, obviously when you have dudes, yes, you want to give your dudes a chance to make the play, but that's what I think a lot of people miss, because I'm not watching like, oh yeah, he's awesome, he can throw it and dude, touchdown, whatever. I'm watching, okay, where is he throwing the ball? Are there 2 guys around? Is there a guy around? Is the guy covered? Okay, yeah, I know you want to throw some 50-50 balls, but I don't know if you want on your highlight reel, if I'm a GM watching your highlight reel and the wideouts are making circus spectacular, backflip catches, for touchdowns, and you're not just, I don't see more of, did you find the window? Where was your ball on the post? Where's the ball on the comeback? Things like that. That's what I would be looking for. And I'm sure there's plenty of that in the film. Obviously, I don't see it, but I think a lot of that gets missed, when they're comparing the two quarterbacks, when honestly, Fields has just as many, throws where his wideouts are making spectacular, catches and things like that for touchdowns. And he's probably got just as many throws where, case in point, Clemson, the touchdown over the middle in the window that was probably like this big. I don't know, I don't know if you know that, but he made several throws that were like that. So either way they can't go wrong, personally. And I know the knock on Ohio State quarterbacks, just because their offensive system doesn't lend itself to the NFL system, but you have to understand that college coaches don't give a damn about the NFL system. They're trying to win college games. So you have to take that out of the way. And when you talk to the player, you interview him, be like, hey, well, you put him on the board. Does he understand what's going on? And you make your evaluation from there. You can't base it on the offense that he was in college because they don't equate.
Yeah, it's important to watch these guys and like you said, like perfect word, like equate to the NFL. Like a nice play in college might be a pick in the NFL. Like I remember, I forget what game it was, but it was when Zach Wilson was getting a lot of hype, and I like Zach Wilson a lot. I'm just saying in general. There was like a throw that he threw. It was basically a line drive on a 9 route, and it wasn't like a back shoulder line drive. Like the DB's playing over the top leverage, like he's trying to get the back shoulder. It wasn't that. It was like just a strict 9 ball, like over the top, and it was a laser. But it was really like a really shallow kind of throw. And I was like, in the NFL, like that's probably a pick. So like, don't get that excited about that throw. So it's important to look at it fairly. But I do like Wilson better. And I said this, and it's really, really, really generic. And I got into it a lot in the live stream I did yesterday or 2 days ago now by the time people are listening to this. But I feel like he's better at quarterbacking, like right now. Like Fields, super traitsy. I think Fields gets some bullshit criticism, to be completely honest. Like, okay, he can't go through progressions. That's bullshit. We saw that in the Clemson game. That was the best game that either one of those played in their college careers. I'll give him that, but it's a game-to-game basis. But he goes through his reads. The whole, he can't get through, progressions. He locks on receivers. Maybe a little, but also with that system, it's a lot of option routes. So yeah, you could lock on to guys. Exactly. So you got to know what you're watching. But yeah, there are times where he stands too tall in the pocket. I don't think it's not his pocket presence. He has the presence, but he's too confident in his ability to escape guys. So he has to dump the ball, things like that. But like Wilson, just in terms of like the fit for the Jets, like the ability to throw off platform, the quicker, I think he's a quicker decision maker. For me, Fields has to see the guy open for that extra split second that Wilson does not. Like I think he has a little bit better anticipation, quicker release. Like in the NFL, especially in a system that's based on a lot of yak, you have to get the ball there quicker. And obviously just that half a second, quarter of a second matters. And I think Wilson has that quicker mental ability to see the receiver open and the quicker delivery, where Wilson does have, Fields does have a little bit of a wind up. But at the same time, you can argue, okay, well, with Fields, you could run more read option that Wilson can't. You could say that he has a much better deep ball, which I agree with. Fields' deep balls are gorgeous. But overall, like I like Wilson a little bit more, but I don't hate Fields. Like, I'll be a little bit disappointed because I do like Wilson better if it was Fields. But at the same time, Fields, if he hits his ceiling is higher than Wilson's. Like if he reaches his peak, like Fields will be a savage. But again, I'm just more comfortable with Wilson. That's kind of my thoughts. Again, it's not like I said, right now it's crazy on Twitter. It's either one side or the other. It's like Republican versus Democrat. It's crazy. It's just like have a conversation, people. Chill out.
Right.
But let's get into some of the film. Again, that's why we have you here. Maybe we'll do 20 plays because we spend a little bit of time on that. If you're cool, that we'll do 20 plays, Marcus. If
that's cool.
Yeah, we'll do 20. First 2 catches. Again, I go into like a lot of this stuff. Which, by the way, I spoke about this, and you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. I was talking about in the Jared Davis review. I love when I'm watching film when players wear distinguishing like attire, like when they have like certain gloves or they have certain arm pads, because you'll notice it a lot. So this is AJ Brown and this is Davis. I remember. They sometimes wear the same color socks. But the thing I said it, and I think people think I'm a freaking idiot. The one thing I noticed, if they're wearing the same color socks, his are tucked in, His have a little slit where you could see his leg, and I was like, I had to watch that a million times. I watched this whole freaking season. So we have Davis right here, but I'm sure you like when players wear some distinguishing, attire, so you could tell who the hell they are on freaking.
You can see they are, yeah.
This view. But again, I don't have any script right here. I kind of just watch it with you, and then obviously I recorded it for a reason. I guess this is his first 2 catches of the season. He's up here again.
Yeah, top, yeah.
Two cross. The second one's not really that impressive to be completely honest. Again, the first one's pretty generic too, where he just angles inside on a crossing route. All he does is throw that like that punch chop through, and turn. Like this is honestly, I'm not sure if we're getting a lot from this. I did record it. I don't necessarily know why. I guess it's the first 2 catches, but again, this is we're going to see a lot with the Jets in general. Play action him on crossing routes, which he is good at running crossing routes. But are there any thoughts about this? I don't really see too much to get from this, but
not a lot. I mean, the one thing that I can say is I'm obviously getting into the route and getting flat when he does get across as opposed to drifting. I mean, obviously that's it doesn't seem like much to a lot of people, but that's actually very important. That once he starts bending, that he flattens it out. So the quarterback can get him the ball, and the ball gets to him on time, as opposed to him drifting and the ball going late. I mean, I was actually looking at the route combination because I know that I'm about to age myself. So in 2000, I think it was 3. So Kansas City used to run. Something similar to this when they had Eddie Kennison. I can't remember who the other wideout is, but as opposed to running the comeback, what they would do is, remember the old Banana 7 kind of deal? You remember that route? You have no idea what I'm talking about.
They might call it a new concept now.
They might, yeah. So what you get the crossing route, actually he's a little wider, but the wideout from the top, like he bends in like he's running a post.
Okay.
He actually bends it back out and runs a 7 with the crossing route coming back across. So, I mean, I was just looking at that. I was looking at the route. Sorry about that. But
dude, you don't have to apologize to me. That's cool.
Yeah, but the good thing about this is I like the way that he flattens out. Because even when you drift, you still give the DB a chance an opportunity to catch up. By the time the ball gets there. So the sooner you can flatten it out, the sooner the quarterback can get the ball to you, you can start running. So.
Yeah, and that's a good point too, because it helps having people on here because then you can kind of you discuss and then you can think of other points as well. And it's important too, and flattening out with safeties over the top, where maybe if there was some underneath coverage, maybe he would keep it a little bit vertical. Like it's important to know how to run versus the coverage that you're presented. So I think that's a good point. Alter speeds, hands, physical, bottom right here. We'll see exactly what this is, but let's watch obviously from a tighter split, which is going to be a lot of what the Jets do. You actually see a lot of Corey Davis with tighter splits. You see him slot, you see him Z, you see him X. I've seen him sometimes at H-back. Sometimes it's almost a Y tight end blocking defensive ends and linebackers. So he has the versatility, which I like, but,
Ace Nasty.
Let's see.
Same thing. Yeah. Same thing.
Yeah. The one thing I do notice through this route is I do like that he throws his hand right there just to clear that hand. That's kind of like that containment right there.
Yeah.
I do like that little. And I say this in my review too. Again, I obviously write down his strengths and weaknesses and stuff like that, which I will get into next week without Marcus or next show. He does, and I feel like it's like more of like a veteran receiver thing, like a really good, like a smart receiver is. He really uses like subtle hands to really clear himself up. Like maybe a less experienced or not as good a receiver right here, doesn't feel that arm, like that containment right there from the safety, and maybe gets a hand on him and he matches them, so that that little like punch through and wipe is really nice right there.
Yeah, and the good thing that especially vet wideouts that are good route runners that they do is you take into account, and I know nobody thinks about this while they're watching the game except for probably you and I, that little hand right there. So as opposed to, like you said, the DB, getting a hand on him and being able to match him or at least stay with him. Yeah. It's actually a momentum changer as well. Yeah. So you've just propelled yourself an extra yard just by that little hand swipe. And, those of you that are physics and brainiacs and all that kind of stuff, y'all can calculate that and figure that out. But don't ask me how it works. I just know if I'm running fast and I give you a slight tap and you're standing still, I'm gonna move up faster. So So, but you see vet receivers do that all the time. That's why you see a lot of DBs, they're running with the guy, and then they get the wideout just give them, just a little touch. It doesn't even have to be much, and they get propelled. And it's, it's kind of like the draft effect in NASCAR. So with Corey Davidson, now that you bring it up, I do see him do that quite a bit, whether it be off the line, whether he's running in stride with the wideouts. It's just like little hand, whether it be hand slaps or to use the DB's leverage against him, to get open. He's really good at doing that.
Yeah, like there are some times I get into like physics discussions where I'm talking about like the insteps of the foot, and I'm like, I don't know how to explain it, but this is just why it is. Like I can't. But yeah, like he does a lot of like this little like subtle hand movements, a lot of like holding his line and his stems, which again you're leaning against him, which kind of helps yourself propel outside, inside, whatever it may be. And then he does a lot of like push buys, like, pushing the receivers back as he turns on like a comeback, things like that. So he's really good with his hands. Right. The one thing I would note here too is, and I said altered speed, and I noticed why now is it seems like he's running more at like 85, 90 as he's kind of getting into this safety zone. And then as he gets behind the safety, it looks like he turns it to 100. That's something that I noticed here right there. It looks like he kicks it up into gear. So I do like that he can alter his speed and kind of like read things. And obviously the stiff arm at the end, this would never happen to Marcus Coleman, but you do like that physicality at the end of the play.
Oh, yeah, right? No, I definitely like that. Yeah, I like that a lot. But that's part of his game, which is what I like about him. He doesn't shy away from contact. If anything, he initiates it, when he gets the opportunity. And I think this is the kind of player that, the Jets have had for a while. Somebody that brings that physical toughness, on the outside, at the wideout spot.
Yeah, okay. Davis drive, okay cut, attack ball, pulled away. All right. Bottom of the screen, another tighter split right here. And let's see what happens. The initial thing, like, again, I recorded this like 2 weeks ago. The only thing I could say is, I'm wrong. He's really, at first, he's really selling that drive phase. His shoulders are really down. Like he's selling vertical. So I definitely like that. Their speed cut, it's actually not a bad speed cut.
Yeah, it's not bad.
I would argue that he could maybe drop his weight a little bit more into that break step right there. But overall, he's only bending it like 2 or 3 yards. And sometimes like there are routes like that coaches actually designed to have that like 2, 3, 4. Like, so sometimes people might think, and again, I would have to see the offensive system, but sometimes there's different routes. Like I can't even think off the top of my head. But I do have them all written down where it's like, okay, well at your cut, bend it 4 or 5 yards instead of 2 or 3 yards based on the routes. Like there's like, people think there's like 9 different routes. Like that's why I hate the route tree. Because there is literally 1,000 like in different systems. So
right.
But decent cut, sell the drive phase, attack the ball, pull the ball away. That's great.
Yes.
What are you seeing here?
No, good feet. Like you said, speed out. There's nothing really special about the speed out. It's just making sure you get the speed out of anything. Yes, as the wide receiver, you have to get in and out of the out of your break when you're making the speed out, but it's more on the quarterback to get the ball out on time. Because speed outs are usually contested pretty good. But I like the snatch, strong hands, obviously good feet, which shows good body control. Just another great play. Great play by. It's not a spectacular play, but this is a tough catch.
Tight hands too. Good,
like I said, the DB's on him. Yeah, the DB's on him. Great hands. Eyeing the ball all the way in. Yep. Being able to snatch it out the air. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, catching the tip of the ball too. And the one thing I noticed about his speed outs too, like in terms of like, so I think I said in my weaknesses, like he's good at like outside, inside breaks. I think that sometimes with his like breaking back to the quarterback, whether it be curls, comebacks, sometimes he starts to lean out of his breaks a little bit too early. But another thing with speed outs too that I think is like an important notice, some receivers start to kind of like bend, like lean into their break before their break comes, and DBs they obviously study film and they see guys who do that and they jump it. And he doesn't really do that here. Like he doesn't lean into that, and he's really selling that deep. Like it's not like he's gearing down his pads come up like a split second before his break, but I think overall like a pretty good speed out from him. And obviously, like you said, like that, getting his hands on the ball, pulling it away while having the awareness to toe tap right there. Like this is as good as it gets in terms of a contested catch and toe tapping.
Yep, no doubt.
So
I like the body control for sure.
Yeah. Okay, moving on to the next one. Let's see. All right. This one is square up rocker hand. So you see a little rocker step. I'm assuming before the break, after the break. I don't know. Yeah. So this is when you could tell, like, I don't watch film and just like, oh, he got a catch. Let me watch that play.
Right.
Bob on the screen right here. He at least throws a rocker step to at least what I call it. It's basically a crossover. That's all it is. A 1-2 at the top, break, punch through, or a chop on the arm. I really don't care if you call it a punch through, chop. I don't give a shit. That's whatever people call it. That's your terminology. But I do like the patience to square him up, get on his toes, and then throw that rocker step at the top of the break right there.
Yeah, it just shows another element of his game. Setting it up. So, I mean, no, I definitely like that. Obviously, you want to have as many moves, as you can, to try to, give yourself an advantage over the DB. So how many plays are we in? Like 5?
4.
Like 4-ish, 5. Okay. I'm keeping track of something else in my head. So I'm looking at, so the first 3 so far, his inside foot's been up. His outside foot's been up. Inside foot has been back. Obviously, you got 2 crossing routes, and now you got speed out. So this is a 4 play, and he's got his feet switched. So I'm seeing if there's a trend. Because I know if I can pick this up, here in the bedroom right now, somebody else should be able to pick it up in the film room. So so we'll see how that finishes up. Once we get through the plays. But I like the rocker step.
Yeah, the rocker step's definitely good. And just the pace that he attacks his DB with. Now, I know from a DB perspective, I could tell that the technique is pretty bad here in terms of him kind of standing straight up and his feet being really kind of narrow, and his feet down. So we're not going to kill the DB there because we're not paying attention to him right now. But I'm not going to say this is the best technique.
Yeah. No, plus he's in no man's land. He's right at 5.
Oh, dude. I think we've said no man's land on the show of us combined at least 1,000 times when we do this. I hate it. Like what? Yeah. I don't know. That's not good. That's not good technique, but good technique from Davis. So 5th, let's see if we notice that trend here. Outside foot up.
Mm-hmm.
Nope.
See, we got up. Oh, curl. Okay.
Let's see. Good route. Lean, leverage, leans out a little early. All right.
Yeah, he gave him a little stem. So basically, he ran the curl. He ran the curl with the same. Initially, it looks like speed out, like it does, because he bends. He drifts, or I should say, where he's running to, or his aiming point, is the same angle that he ran the speed out on. So this time he just ran the curl. Still outside foot up, inside foot back. You can get some keys off of that. Like I said, we're only like 6 plays in. But I do like that he's setting them up. So he's making it look like a different, making it look like speed out, obviously, and he comes back in and he runs the curl.
Yeah, and he's attacking the defensive back's leverage, which is going to widen him as well, which obviously gives him more room for the break inside. And I think the break overall is good. Like you have the stop step, like he's over his knee. He's condensed. He drops his hips. I would maybe like to see 1, 2, maybe on the second step. No, the second step's pretty good too. So he's really leaning into those first steps and snaps out of that. And again, we have to understand that he's 6'3". I think he's listed at 205. Based on like what I'm watching, he looks more like a 210, 215 guy.
Yeah, I think he's bigger than that. I
don't think he's 205. Like that's pretty. He looks a little bit bigger. But in general, I think a good route. But I remember I saw like on the Tennessee Titans website or whatever, like 205. I'm like, I don't know. Maybe like maybe that's what he was his rookie year, and they never changed it. Like I don't know how often did they weigh you in football for the new stats for the website. Like I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. He looks a little bigger than that to me. I agree.
Davis, tough catch, body control, spatial awareness. I guess I obviously spelled that wrong. He is the top right here. Another tight split. That's the one thing he. Oh yeah. Okay. Oh, so I had to slide. Yeah, I remember there were so one. The thing I do like about it is too that obviously you can stay in the chip defensive ends and stuff like that. He's definitely versatile with that. Runs another over. Obviously, his spatial awareness of the zone drops of the defense is good. Where he stems it vertical, where he could just cut, over top of that, hook zone or whatever it is from that linebacker safety. Pretty tight cut past it. And then obviously the contested catch right there, which he has to reach back for body control, the ability to, like you said, control his body, the catch radius like that. They gave like a really shitty view of it right here because they didn't review it. But like, What do you think about this one?
No, that's a tough catch. And like you said, I do like he's not just running the route; he's running the route with purpose once he finishes the chip. So here. Taking that one extra step, getting the DB to go back, one extra step creates that room. And obviously, I mean, yes, the linebacker's dropping back. He's in a weak hook, but there's no way you can't feel a guy moving that fast, particularly an over route. Now, not necessarily a good ball, but obviously with Corey's ability, I mean, and his strong hands, you can see how strong his hands are. I mean, obviously we can see a better view, but him being able to pull that down between two defensive players with him, and they're on him tight.
He's literally got two guys on his back as he's coming down right now.
Yeah, that truly shows you how strong he is. Not just with his body, but just his hands. By them, alone. Shows you how strong his hands are, and yes, with body control as well. Being able to reach back, get the ball. Secure the catch and bring it down. That shows, toughness, on several different levels.
Yeah, that's the one thing I really like about him too. Like, I'm sure it's probably even more prevalent nowadays is some receivers are, and again, I don't want anybody coming at me. Oh, we had the discussion pre-show. You couldn't play that. I get it. But a lot of receivers are a little bit soft over the middle at times and make business decisions. And Corey Davis is not one of those players. And he's really good at contested catches. The one thing I will warn people of, I didn't see him go straight, like not like vertical all the time and see him win deep. So a lot of people just see on his like scat, like whoever they listen to, they see contested catches. They automatically think that's going deep. Contested catches as well. I think there's a big difference between like over route contested catches where you could box guys out and vertical contested catches. At least in my opinion, I could be completely. That's how I feel, but just based on what I watch, it's completely different. But let's see. This is a receiver that you'd want to. We always had this discussion. You didn't like this. You didn't like the Jameson Crowders of the world. You like playing against Corey Davis's because you were a bigger defensive back yourself.
Yeah.
So he's on the bottom. I just had good break here, so I don't know exactly.
Yeah.
Again, pretty simple slant.
Yeah. Like the stutter too.
Yeah, little.
Little. It's subtle, but it does something.
Yeah, I call that. I refer to that. You know who did that a lot, which we said he did it too much last year. I refer to that as a hop step when it's all for that same foot. So a little bit of hop step, reading the defensive back's leverage again. So he's not like lazy in his routes. Like he really like the effort here with the hop step hesitation, which gets the DB thinking, and then really selling deep for 1, 2, only 3 steps, but like it's not like a lazy sell. Which I like. And then obviously breaks. He gets his dry foot under his frame. Like it's not so far at a whack where he can't bring his hips over it. Gets inside and he wins on the slant. And again, he attacks the ball too right there with like with tight hands too. So that's nice. Yeah.
For me, that's probably outside of the route running. That's probably the biggest thing that I like about him. Like he attacks the ball. Like he attacks the ball. It's his ball, regardless of who's around, regardless of who's on him. He goes at the ball. When the ball's in there, he's going to get it. And I that's probably my favorite part about his game. To be honest with you, yes, he's big. I like his route running, to be honest with you, but I like his aggressiveness, attacking the ball. I think that's important because he's going to be, particularly if he's, as he's, played, throughout his years, he is sometimes in the slot. Sometimes he's H-back. You're going to be surrounded by 2 or 3 guys, minimum, most of the time if you're playing those inside positions. That somebody's just locking up man and, blitzing all the time. But you got to be able to make the contested catches, and you got to be a guy that go up with your hands in order to make those catches. And he does that very well.
Yeah, for sure. And like you noted, the strong hands. And with that route, I should have replayed it. But like, I like that. That's when you hear like the coined phrases, which I think are important at times. Like sometimes they're overused for sure, especially when you know the people who are using them don't really know what the hell they're talking about. But like that rep was like to me like the embodiment of like patient but sudden, like patient off the line but sudden on his break, and like really altering speeds, like attacking DBs. Like you can't just go all at one speed because they're going to kind of feel you out. But like when it's like okay, a slow release into selling vertical with your shoulders down over your knees, like oh shit, he's going to beat me deep, to breaking. But like, and he's also something I noticed too is like I think he does a good job at like selling deep, but like we always talk about like I think you referenced Julio last time where like he sells that 100 or he sells 100, but he's really going like 90. I think Davis can do the same thing sometimes.
Agreed.
As well. And the thing with Davis too is like I think he had like so from my, again, this is just my process. Like watching him, I thought he always had like strong hands at least during the season. What happened was he missed 2 games with COVID. I don't know if he had it or whatever, COVID scare, all this crap now with that. But the last game of the year, he needed like 40 yards. Like the last 2 games of the year, he needed like 100 yards combined to get over 1,000. And it looked like it got into his head, in my opinion, where he would start to look to run before securing the catch. And then he dropped I think he dropped like 4 balls versus the Texans. So like now the argument's like, oh, he had bad hands. I think he was pressing too much for 1,000 yards. And again, like I try to be fair, so I'm not going to say, oh, well, whatever. But let's see. Oh yeah, that's
got him. Yeah, like that.
Now that's that. Okay, so we saw the rocker step before. Now that's what I refer to as a stacked rocker step. So what do you think on this? Obviously, there's a lot here.
I mean, I like that. I mean, obviously, DB doesn't help him. But what I do like is once he clears the DB, and obviously if you go back, obviously look at the hand motion. DB's got his hand on him. You get the swipe, all right? As soon as you get the swipe, you stack, all right? Now DB's at your mercy. So now, especially in the red zone, because now it's going to happen super quick. Gives him the rocker step. DB's, eyes are in a bad place. He takes advantage of it, going the other way. It makes another contested catch, showing strong hands, in the middle of, in the middle of the red zone, just on the, right middle of the red zone. I definitely like this.
And I like to hear like that he like pulls his arm through, like he blades his shoulder a little bit. And like, just like, it's like that subtle movement where like, and like, I always talk about like this little stupid stuff, but like I don't think it is, because like when you blade your shoulder like that, like now you're reducing that contact area that he could shoot back into. So like you want to blade yourself. And you see a lot of rushers, and that's when they do like those, like, whatever the move is, specifically, but a lot of them are dipping their shoulders because now you're turning your chest away.
Right. You're bending against skinny. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Same concept. Yeah.
Drops the hips.
Yep.
Rocker, which is basically just the 1-2 with the peak, which that if there's not a rocker step, some people refer to this as like a peak technique where you basically look the opposite of your break just to fake it with your head. But that's really a part of the rocker. You're supposed to throw that peak. So I do want to mention that, but nice rocker with the peak. And again, even at the end right here, like wiping away just to create that extra separation right there, like that physical nature.
For the full subscriber video, become a subscriber for free today at jetsxfactor.com. Click the link in the description below.